So, Unit 1, Geometry, Day 7. We will probably have a test. Next week once you come back, probably on Friday. We may or may not have a quiz, small quiz, that will not take the whole class on Thursday. Okay, right now I may be thinking of like a 3 or 4 question quiz, just real quick, an informal assessment where it's not going to be a 25-point thing, just a nice quick little thing. You're going to turn it in probably on Thursday. Okay? So, triangles part 3. Everybody with me? Okay. And this is going to sound really funny, because we're talking about triangles, and I'm starting off with circles. Circles have a measure of blank degrees. And then leave that open. Okay? If you think you know it, great. We're going to prove it. We're going to prove it with triangles. We're going to prove it with triangles. Okay? Tell me, if I give you an equiangular triangle, what degree do each angle need to be? Renee? 60 degrees. Can you tell me how you got that to be 60 degrees? What did you have to do to make that 60 degrees? Who remembers? How did we get each angle to be 60 degrees in an equiangular? Go ahead, Layden.
You have to have the arcs, right?
Okay, but what is the sum of a triangle?
Oh.
Lydia?
180 degrees.
180 degrees. How did we go from 180 to knowing each angle was 60? What did we have to do to that 180?
Divided by 3.
Very good. Divide it by 3. Okay, I'm going to keep adding some triangles. There's another equiangular. Everybody with me? That means those are all 60 degrees. And let's do one more. Which means these are 60 degrees. Everybody still with me? Okay, kiddos and kidettes, pay attention here. This is where it gets fun. Notice how 3 equiangular triangles, when we put them together, form this straight line. Does everybody agree with that? Yeah. How can we prove that these 3 triangles formed a straight line? How can I prove that? Well, let's go a little bit further back. Let's talk about straight lines. What do we know about straight angles or straight lines? Owen?
That they're 180 degrees.
Oh, they're 180 degrees. So, Ms. Ross, can you tell me what 60 plus 60 plus 60 is? Oh, 180. So this right here, those angles formed a straight line. Everybody with me? To form a circle, because the circle is exactly the same on the other half, right? I needed another 3 triangles. So this is 60, this is 60, this is 60. And you're saying, Mr. H, I don't see a circle. Do we see the circle around the center? Well, if this side was 180, this side also has to be 180. How can... It's what?
360.
Oh, good. Can you raise your hand?
Oh.
No, raise your hand so I can be proud. Gabriel.
It's 360.
It is 360 degrees because if this side is 180 plus another 180 That's going to give me 360 degrees. All circles will be 360 degrees. There may be some bonus questions. There may be some tougher questions where we use simple things where you're going to have to say, that's a circle. How am I going to make sure what those angles are? Everybody with me? So, circles add up to 360. Have a sum. Triangles will have interior angles always with a sum of. What will the interior angles of a triangle, interior meaning inside, what will the inside angles of a triangle have a sum of? Sum being add up to. Go ahead, Gabriel.
180.
180. Thank you for raising your hand. That's fantastic. 180 degrees. Every time that you see a triangle, you know that the sum of the angles will have to add up to 180 degrees. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. I'm going to only show you one. Then you're going to be working on it. And it's going to be an example. Find the missing value. And I'm going to give you this triangle. $90, 35, and x. I want you to set up an equation first. Set up an equation first, and then see if you can solve it. So, because I told you I'm going to do this one first with you, I'm going to set up the equation. What do I know all three of these angles have to equal? Luke. They have to equal what?
90 degrees.
Not 90. Cece?
No.
180. The interior angles of a triangle always have to add up to 180. So I know it's going to equal 180. Well, what am I going to add together? I'm going to add the three things. 35 plus 90, because a right angle is right here, plus x equals 180. This is how I'm going to set it up. Is this how you have to do it? No, I'm going to show you another way here too. Then we're going to say, okay, 35 plus 90. 5, that's 125. So I combine those, I bring down my x. Equals 180 degrees. Well, how do I get x isolated? We do the inverse. We subtract 125 from both sides. Leaves me with x equals, well, let's borrow 10, 5, 5, 0. X has to equal 55 degrees. Now, how would you normally set this up to solve it? Well, pretty much the same way. Most of you would say, because we did this with straight lines, you'd say, okay, I'm going to add these together. 35 plus 90. That gives me 125. And then you're going to say, okay, 180 minus 125, because that's what's missing, gives me 55. Do I care which way? Yes. I want to see an equation. Okay, so on our next example, I want you to set up an equation. We're adding everything together. We're making it equal 180. Okay? Let's try this one. $20 degrees. 15 degrees. Y degrees. So, set up an equation first. We can't see it. Let's move this a little bit. So, 20 degrees, 15 degrees, Y degrees. Find the missing, and actually I said find. I want you to solve for the missing variable. I was that teacher. Oh my goodness. I told myself I'd never do that because you guys should have been smarter than me and said, Mr. H, I found it. It's right here. So if I ever say find, you can just circle and say found it. That's not what I want. Solve for y. That's the better way to say it. Solve for y. Go ahead. So set up an equation. Solve for y. So you need to copy this down. There you go. So I don't want the answer yet. I want the equation. Lydia, can you give me an equation for this problem?
20 plus 15.
20 plus 15 plus what?
Y.
Equals?
35.
What did all those have to equal? Those three angles always have to equal? 180. So now that I've got my equation, we should be able to solve. Go ahead and do that. Put your body on the floor.
May we have Ryan Irvin to the office to leave, please?
20 plus 15 plus 5.
What do you have? 20 plus 15 is what?
35.
Good. Then you have to take that away from the 180.
So, minus 35.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to call it. Okay, so here we go. So Leighton said, hey, Mr. H, I know how to combine my like terms. What's 20 plus 15, Leighton?
35.
So now we have 35 plus y equals 180. What did you do from there?
I had to, after I found the sum of 20 plus 15, which is 35.
Mm-hmm.
I took 180
Ryan.
minus 35.
Very good. So you subtracted the 35 from the 180. That leaves me with y equals, well, 180 minus 35. Okay, so I'm going to borrow again. Leaves me with 5, 4, 145 degrees. Everybody still with me? So why is it important that we are setting up an equation? Well, can we see over here? Yeah. Let's try this one. So here's example 3. Solve for z degrees. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. Get up, bud. Thank you. 100 degrees, z degrees. And we've got two congruent angles. So I'm going to ask again, what does congruent mean? So I need a show of hands. What does congruent mean? I need more than 2. I need more than 5. I need more than 7. I need a bunch of hands. What does congruent mean? Taylor? Exactly the same. So I'm going to give you a little bit of help. If this angle is exactly the same as this, and this one is z, what does this angle have to be?
Z.
Oh, set it up. Set up your equation. If they're exactly the same, we should know the variable in both corners. Let's see what we got.
Mr. H,
Yes, ma'am.
could we have Ryan Irvin to the office to leave, please?
He left about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, one more time. Owen, if this is Z, what does this have to be? Can we set up an equation? I'm not going to solve it yet. Can we just set up the equation? Luke, you're nodding your head. Can you set it up for me?
100 plus z plus z equals 180.
100 plus Z plus another Z equals 180 because the sum of a triangle has to be 180. Well, Connor, you ready? How many Z's do I have here? 2. So when I combine those, that's 2Z. So now I have 100 plus 2Z equals 180. What do I do from here? Cece, you think you have a guess?
I would just put 2 40s because 40 plus 40 is 80.
I-
And 100 plus 80 is 80.
I love that. How did you know that it was 40 and why did you know they were the same?
Because you said it was
What showed it in the picture?
little thing.
Yeah, what do you remember what we call that thing?
No.
Somebody help her? What do we call that thing?
Arcs.
The arcs. The arcs told me they had to be the same. And you said, mental math, I know that 40 plus 40 is going to give me the other 80. I love that. More of an equation. I'm not as smart as Cece. I didn't know that. So what do I need to do? I still need to isolate my variable. I'm going to subtract 100 from my 180. Because we're trying to get Z by itself. That leaves me 2 times Z equals 80. And this is where Cece got. She said, I know that it has to be 80. I know what's missing has to be 80. But there's 2 of them. So just like we said there was 3 angles that were exactly the same in the equiangular, and we divided by 3, now there's 2 angles that have to be 80. So what do we divide by? By 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1Z. 80 divided by 2 is, oh, I write 80 again, is 40. Cece, that was fantastic, honey. So Z is 40 degrees. We're going to come back with more examples. Remember, actually no. No. We're going to do it right now. So you must raise your hands when you have the answer. You must raise your hands when you have the answer. Solve for the missing, whoa, variable. Somebody slammed the door. They weren't happy. They must have known they weren't in my class. They must have been like, oh man, I'm not in Mr. H's class. And slammed the door. Here we go. Solve for the missing variable. We've got 60 degrees, 50 degrees, x degrees. Solve for x. Go.
Remember, when you're finished, raise your hand and I'll come around and take a peek at it, okay?
Just don't look like you're trying.
Make sure that you write it with x equals when you have your final answer so I can see it. Okay. And I will be looking for an equation, so I'm peeking over Carly's shoulder and I see that she wrote an equation, so I should be able to see an equation. I should be able to see an x equals.
It's
great answers and great equations. Nice way to write out those equations, folks.
Good. So once you've got it, raise your hand.
They were told they had to have an equation written out too, Mr. A.
Oh, yeah.
Nice work, Brittany.
Way to be persistent, people.
Did you already get checked?
We are a bunch of hard workers.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Okay, nice
Good.
work.
Good.
So how do we write an equation?
Good. Oh, you already got checked. We're doing one that doesn't even work on it. It's all right. Good. Folks, I love this. You guys have absolutely crushed this.
Let's get
So, one of you snot-nosed kids, though, got me sick. I'm not blaming it on my son, because I'm pretty sure he's perfect. But I'm blaming it on one of you guys probably got me sick. I'm guessing it was you. Don't tell her. Okay, so who can give me an equation? I want somebody new, because I saw equations almost on every single paper. Trevor, go.
60 plus 50 plus x.
60 plus 50 plus x. Is that an equation? That's an expression. How can I make an equation?
Turn x into o.
What needs to be in an equation? Can we call on a friend? We'll call on.
Sum?
Yeah, what does sum means? It has to add up to what?
180
So what am I going to put? 60 plus 50 plus x?
equals 180.
There we go. An equation has to have an equal sign. Okay? So, let's keep on going. Miss Izzy, 60 plus 50. 110. I thought you were going to say 1110, but that's all right. 110 plus x equals 180. Carly, what do I do from here?
Subtract 110 from 110 and 180.
Good. That leaves me with x equals. Okay, everybody should have it. Show of hands. I need hands that you got a star next to your paper. I need hands so I can call on anybody. I can call on anybody. Cece, go for it. 70 what?
X equals 70 degrees.
70 degrees. Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very happy with that. Very happy with that. Questions so far? So, the sum of the angles are 180. You guys did very well there. This is not talking about the angles. What we're going to go to next. What we're going to go to next is talking about the side lengths. Okay? The angles have a sum of 180. The side lengths don't have to add up to 180. To make a triangle, you need to have this written. I promise you, you need to have this written. To make a triangle, the two smaller sides must add together to be greater than the third side. That's a lot of writing. It's a lot of writing. I want you to have it written down. I'm going to give you time. Go ahead. Oh, there goes one more. on another class. You're right. So the two smaller sides, when I add them together, must be greater than the third. Not the same, not less than, greater than the third side. So, what would examples look like? It might say, can this be a triangle? And they might give you this. 3 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches. With side lengths 3 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches, can that be a triangle? To see if it's a triangle, we find the two smaller sides. The two smaller sides. What are going to be my two smaller sides, Maddie?
3 and 4.
Okay. I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to say 3 plus 4. And I'm going to come straight down. I'm going to say that is 7. Must add together to be greater than, 7 has to be the bigger number than the third side. Is 7 greater than 6? I'm going to put a check mark next to it and say, yes, it is a triangle. The two smaller sides must be greater than the third side. Okay. Are they triangles? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got these. Adding them up, seeing if they're bigger than the third. 3 inches, 3 inches, 7 inches. 10 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet. 10 feet, 11 feet, 21 feet, 7 meters, 8 meters, 14.99 meters. So, you need to show me how, adding them up, making an inequality, showing me the greater than sign for those 4. Are they greater than the third side? So we find the two smaller, add them together. Is it greater than the third side? So you've got 4 examples up there. Call us up when you think you got it. Or call us over, not call us up. And if you're confused and you're like, I need some help, ask please. I know. Is that greater than?
No.
So is it a triangle? Raise your hand up. So you're adding up the two small ones, right? The two smaller sides. Add those up. What is that good? Is that greater than? Was it a triangle? What does it say? To make a triangle, the two smaller sides must add together to be greater. Is that greater than? Okay. Is that greater than? Okay. So 21 equals 21. Does it say anything about equal? What does it say? To make a triangle with two small sides must add together to be. Oh, so is 21 greater than 21? Shut up. All the way. Where's my inequalities? I mean, an inequality. See what you got. Good on him. Good. 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 Folks, you're doing great. So again, I said this is super important. To make a triangle, the two smaller sides must add together to be greater than the third. So, when I say, hey, show me an inequality, you're going to have to add the two smaller sides. 3 plus 3, so I'm going to add. Gives me 6. Is greater than 7? Is that true? No, so not a triangle. If I ask you to prove it, you need to have this whole portion. This one, 10 plus 11 is 21 feet, is equal to 21 feet. And a lot of you said, Mr. H, what happens when they're equal? Well, let's go back over. The two smaller sides must add together to be greater than. Is this greater? No, 21 is not greater than 21, so it's not a triangle. 10 plus 11 is 21 feet. 21 is greater than 12. Yes, it is a triangle. Last but not least, 7 plus 8 is 15 meters. Is that greater than 14 and 99 hundredths? Would you rather have $14.99 or $15? 15's bigger. So, yes, it is a triangle. Questions?